What's up? What's up? This is Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense. Today, we will continue our physiology playlist. It's time to talk about the innate immunity and the adaptive immunity, or the difference between the natural immunity and the acquired immunity. Put differently, it's the distinction between the non-specific immunity and the specific immunity. Please watch my previous physiology videos before this one. As you remember, your blood consists of plasma and cells. The cells are red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. When it comes to immunity, who is the hero of the immunity? Your white blood cells. Remember this, please. Alright, how about the plasma? You have plasma proteins, right? Such as albumin and globulin. Globulins are alpha globulins, beta globulins, and gamma globulins. When it comes to immunity, who is the hero of immunity here? The gamma globulins, because these are your antibodies, aka your immunoglobulins. Your blood cells are red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Who is the hero in immunity? White blood cells, which include the granulocytes and the non-granulocytes. The granulocytes are neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, or you can remember them as BEN. Basophils, eosinophils, neutrophils. Then you have the non-granulocytes, which are your lymphocytes, and the monocytes. So what are the white blood cells again? Neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, monocyte, lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are divided into B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes will later become plasma cells. The plasma cells will secrete antibodies. What are these antibodies? These are proteins. Are they albumins or globulins? They are globulins. Are they alpha globulin, beta globulin, or gamma globulin? They are gamma globulins. Here's your plasma, water, inorganic substances, organic substances, and gas. Let's focus on the organic. You have plasma proteins such as albumin and globulin. Today we're talking about globulin because the antibodies are globulins. All of these lovely plasma protein come from the liver, with the exception of the gamma globulins. These are the antibodies because the antibodies come from the plasma cells, and the plasma cells come from the B lymphocytes, which come from the bone marrow stem cells. Globulins, alpha 1, alpha 2, beta, and gamma globulins. When it comes to antibodies, they are gamma globulins. Don't forget, your antibodies are gamma globulins, and these antibodies come in 5 shapes. You have IgM, IgG, IgA, IgE, IgD. This is a quick review of your white blood cells. Pause and review. As we have discussed before, neutrophils are about 60% of the total leukocytic count. Lymphocytes are only 30%. Your antibodies come from here. Let's review the functions of the white blood cells. Neutrophils, remember, they attack bacteria. They cause acute inflammation. They secrete pus. That's why we call them the pus cells. You can also call them the polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Why polymorphonuclear? Because their nucleus has weird shape, many shapes. When it comes to the word polymorphonuclears, some people write them this way, PMNs, some people write them this way, PMLs, because they are polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Now, technically, the PMNs are not just neutrophils, but since the neutrophils are 60% of your white blood cells, whenever they refer to PMNs, they're talking about the neutrophils. Basophils are the equivalent of mast cells in the blood, in the tissue. How about monocytes? Are the same as macrophage or histiocytes? Kupffer cells, microglia. They are basically the same function. It's just different locations, therefore different names. Who's the hero of acute inflammation? Neutrophils. Who's the hero of chronic inflammation? Lymphocytes. Do you remember this? This is the acute inflammation. Here's your blood vessel. Alright, during acute inflammation, we gotta vasodilate to bring in more of these doozy neutrophils. Awesome. And then the neutrophils will keep marginate, which means they come closer to the wall of the blood vessel, not in the center, next to the wall. That's called margination. And then diapedesis, loupier in French means foot. So basically they will acquire some false feet like this. Oh, so they will look like this. These are false feet. Do you remember the word podocytes in the kidney? Same freaking thing. A cell with false feet. Then we will keep their amoeboid movement. They will keep rolling on that endothelium. And then chemotaxis. They will secrete some chemicals to attract others. Moreover, they themselves will be attracted from the blood vessel into the outside, which is the interstitial fluid. Who's going to attract them? The bacteria, and the bacterial toxin will secrete some chemicals. These chemicals will attract the neutrophils from the vessel to the outside. and that's why we call it chemotaxis. What's a taxi? Oh, taxi, it's a mode of transportation. How about chemo? Chemical. So it's transportation by chemicals. Love it. The neutrophils being transported via chemicals. And then the neutrophils will help make the bacteria tasty, called opsonization. Let's make this bacteria delicious, and then we will eat it. Mission accomplished. Go to hell, bacteria. You have to understand the sequence of events. You start with lymphoid stem cells in your bone marrow, which will secrete B lymphocytes. Why do you call them B? Because they mature in the bone marrow. Thank you. B lymphocytes, in the beginning, they are naive, they are young and dumb, but then they will mature, they will grow up, they will stop being so naive, and they will grow up. When they grow up, they become plasma cells. Also, they can become something else called memory B cells. But let's just keep it simple. B lymphocytes become plasma cells. Nice. Plasma cells will secrete your antibodies or your immunoglobulins, aka gamma globulins, and they include IgM, IgA, IgG, IgE, IgD. Each antibody looks like this. It has 2 light chains and 2 big heavy chains like that. The 2 light chains come in 2 forms, kappa or lambda. The 5 heavy chains are either M, A, G, E, or D. So let's say, for example, this one antibody could be Ig, G, and then lambda, which means when it came to the heavy chain, I chose IgG. But when it came to the light chain, I was lambda. So this is just one freaking antibody. Here's your B lymphocyte, naive, immature. Then it will recognize the antigen and become mature. When it matures, it becomes memory B cell, and some will become plasma cells. Those who become plasma cells are going to secrete antibodies. Pause and review. Let's talk about immunity. Immunity is the ability of your body to resist those ugly bacteria, microorganisms, and the bacteria toxin or viral toxin, etc. What are the microorganisms? You have bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites. Technically, parasites could be big, so they are not micro, but let's just keep it simple. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, parasites, and the toxins secreted by those doofuses. Your immunity is divided into 2 groups or 2 types. You have the innate immunity, non-specific, and you have the acquired immunity, specific. Immunity, innate or acquired. The innate has 2 names, natural, non-specific. The adaptive also has 2 other names, acquired or specific. Think of it this way. Innate, you're born with it. It's just street fighters. They fight everyone. They kill bacteria, viruses. They don't care whether you are Staph aureus, Strep pyogenes, Neisseria meningitis. I don't care about the type of the bacteria or the virus. I'm gonna kill everyone equally. I don't give a rip. I don't distinguish. Adaptive is very selective. It's like the military. There is the army, there is the navy, air force, Marine Corps, Space Force, etc. They are very specific. If you want sea operations, send the Navy. If you want land operations, send in the Army. Moreover, the members of the Army who will be sent to location X are not necessarily the same as people who will be sent to location Y, because here we are very specific. Tell me about the innate. You were born with it. It's non-specific, present at birth. It's less potent. You know why? Because it's less specialized than the adaptive. Okay, I'm not specialized, therefore I'm not very strong. I don't remember what happened yesterday or the day before. Anytime I see something that I don't like, I just go and destroy it. I don't care. I don't care whether I've seen it before or not. I really don't care. Such as the acid in your stomach. The acid in your stomach really doesn't care what's in the stomach. It could be a piece of dirt. It could be a bacteria, virus, fungus. I don't care. I will destroy everything because I'm an acid and I don't care. I don't have memory. I'm present at birth. I'm less potent than the specific doofuses, and I am non-specific. I will respond to foreign invaders equally in the same manner. I really don't care. But adaptive, we do care. We are more potent. We develop after birth. We have memory. I remember the Staph aureus. It came 2 years ago. I remember because I was the one who fought it. Next time when you come against Staph aureus, I'll be stronger and faster because I've seen you before. I know my enemy. The response will differ depending on the invader. When the invader is different, the cells responding will be different and the response will be different. For example, these are 2 lymphocytes. One of them will be targeting, for example, HIV virus. The other is targeting influenza virus, even though both are lymphocytes, but we are very specialized. Can you give me examples of the innate, natural, or non-specific immunity? Sure. The acid in your stomach. Okay. The cilia in your trachea. They keep beating upwards. Any foreign particle that comes, I will keep beating upwards. A large group of bacteria came, I will keep beating upwards. I don't care about the type of bacteria. The skin is natural immunity. The mucous membrane is natural immunity. The saliva has natural immunity. The vaginal canal with its pH is natural immunity. By the way, when we say mucous membrane, remember IgA. This is the type of antibody that's in the mucous membrane. That was the natural immunity. Adaptive immunity, we have two big subtypes. Naturally acquired adaptive immunity, artificially acquired adaptive immunity. Tell me about the naturally acquired. Passive and active, and here, passive or active as well. When I say the word passive, remember, we did not do anything. How about passive here? We did not do anything. Active, we did something, we did something. Naturally acquired, not related to your doctor, but artificially acquired is caused by your doctor. Your doctor did something because that's why it's artificial. Let's talk about natural. All right, natural passive acquired immunity. These are the antibodies that you get from the placenta or from breast milk. When mommy feeds the baby, the breast milk is awesome because it contains IgA, preformed antibodies. These are not the baby's antibodies, these are the mother's antibody. The baby was passive. The baby did not do anything. So it's passive, naturally acquired adaptive immunity. Thank you. How about active, naturally acquired? Antigens entered into my body. I've been infected with bacteria. Then I started fighting the bacteria and I won. This is active, naturally acquired immunity. I was active, I did something, I did fight the actual bacteria. But here I did not fight anything, I just got ready. Preformed antibodies from my mother. Artificially acquired, blame the doctor. The doctor can give you preformed antibodies such as anti-serum. Serum therapy is artificially acquired adaptive immunity. Or the doctor can give you a vaccine. This is active. What's the difference? When the doctor gives you antibody, you did not do anything. You did not fight any antigen. You did not fight any bacteria or virus. But when the doctor gave you the vaccine, usually he's giving you a virus that has been killed or very weak so that you will develop the response to that virus. So in this sense, you are active. But when I give you antibodies, ready, you are passive. How many types of antibodies we have? We have 5. IgG, IgM, IgA, IgG, IgE. IgG, remember, they are small. They can cross the placenta because they are small. They make the bacteria tasty. We call this opsonization. And they are responsible for the secondary response. Secondary response, who's responsible for the primary then? It's IgM. For example, I saw this bacteria for the first time. That's IgM. I saw the same bacteria for the second time. That's IgG. IgM is big, therefore cannot cross the placenta. IgM is going to help us fix complement. We'll talk about complement in a few minutes. IgA, remember, the mucosa, because IgA is in your nose, it's in your trachea, it's in your ears, it's in the vaginal canal, it's in breast milk, it's in the anal cavity. Anywhere there is mucous membrane, there will be IgA. IgA left the bloodstream and decided to ascend to the mucous membrane. This is how I remember it. IgA, mucosa, and I'm going to ascend to the mucous membrane. I'm going to leave all the others inside the vessel. I'm going to leave this and go up until I reach the mucous membrane. Open your mouth. You see the pink that's lining the inside of your mouth? That's the mucous membrane. Next, IgD. No one really knows what's the function of IgD. We have some theories, but no one knows it so far. IgE, just remember, ew, allergies, ew, parasites, ew, anaphylaxis, ew. Ana means up, phylaxis means allergy. Up the allergy, up the ante. Oh, we're getting crazy here. Your innate immunity is non-specific. What does that mean? No recognition of specific foreign antigen. The acid in your stomach is going to kill everything. I don't care. Innate, which means it does not need previous exposure. The first exposure, second exposure, third exposure, there is no difference. I kill everything in the same manner. And it's very quick. The acid doesn't need training. The acid is acid. Components of the innate immunity: mechanical and chemical barriers such as acid secretion in the stomach, mucous membrane everywhere, epithelial barriers. Non-specific cellular defenses. Macrophages, no one uses this term anymore, but the macrophages are small cells, neutrophils and eosinophils. Macrophages are bigger, and this is the one that I usually draw like this. That's Pac-Man that's gonna eat stuff. It's phagocytic. Also, you have natural killer cells. These are street fighters. They kill everything. They are not specific. They do not care. And then we have non-specific humoral defense. What does humoral mean? Humoral means fluid. If you remember, the ancient Greeks had the theory of the four humors, four fluids. I think the four fluids were blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, something like that. It was such a woke theory. All right, we have lysosomes here, interferons, acute phase reactant like the C-reactive protein. I have a video about this topic. Also, we have something called the properdin system. Properdin. Before destruction. Before destruction, I'm gonna activate the destroyer, the destruction, which is the complement system. Now, let's talk about the complement system. First of all, why did you call it complement? Because it complements the ability of antibodies and phagocytic cells to do their actual job. For example, antibodies and phagocytic cells are trying to destroy the bacteria. The complement is gonna help them kill the bacteria. Awesome. Who triggered the complement to work? Well, it depends. We have classical pathway, alternative pathway, lectin pathway. The difference among these three is who pulled the trigger, who started the cascade reaction. In the classical pathway, we started the cascade based on antigen-antibody complex. The antigen-antibody came to each other, the antigen kissed the antibody, and now we triggered the classical pathway. The complement will get active. The end result is severe destruction. Next, you have the alternative pathway. Who started this? Bacterial endotoxin and properdin. The end result is the same. I will attack and destroy. And then you have the lectin pathway. Who started the trigger? Who pulled the trigger? Mannose binding lectin. Here's the classical pathway real quick. Who pulled the trigger? Antigen-antibody complex. Here's the antigen, here's the antibody. They hugged and kissed each other. And then they started a cascade reaction. C1 esterase will become C1 dash, which is active, which will activate C4 plus C2 into C42 dash plus C4A. And then they will activate C3 convertase. C3 convertase will convert C3 into C3A and C3B. All right, so this is the mother. The mother gave birth to two babies, C3A and C3B. Awesome. C3B plus the C3 convertase will give us C5 convertase. C5 convertase will convert C5 into C5A and C5B. The end is always the same. C5B plus C6, C7, C8, C9. Together they are called the MAC. The MAC is like the Incredible Hulk. It's going to destroy the bacteria. All kinds of severe destructions. MAC stands for membrane. That's the membrane of the bacteria. Attack complex, because we are more than one. So membrane attack complex is the end result and will cause destruction. That was the story of the classical pathway. Now let's talk about the alternative pathway. There is a difference in the beginning, but the end result is always the same. We always end up with C5b, C6, C7, C8, C9, known as membrane attack complex, and the end result is severe destruction. Who pulled the trigger for the alternative pathway? Bacterial endotoxin. If the bacteria is gram-negative, it's usually lipopolysaccharides in the outer membrane, if you remember. Factor C3, factor C3b plus factor B, then boom, BA and BB, and then boom, C3 convertase. From now till the end, it's the same story. What are the effects of complement activation? First, agglutination. If I have 3 bacteria here, well, let's just bind them together so that it's easier for me to destroy all of them together. Next, in order for me to love killing the bacteria, let's make it tasty. Opsonization by adding a protein known as opsonin. And when it gets tastier, I'm gonna eat it easier, and I'm gonna love myself while eating the bacteria. Next, we have chemotaxis. Remember the story of the chemotaxi? That's right. Complement will help chemotaxis of neutrophils. Direct killing of the bacteria. And usually the complement adds a hole in the bacteria. Well, this has been destroyed. And the hole is called perforation. That's why the protein is called perforin. If it ends in IN, it's usually a protein. Neutralization of viral toxin. The toxin made by the virus. In the beginning, it was virulent. It was toxic to my body. But the complement converted the toxic into non-toxic. Thank you, complement. Release of histamine from mast cells and basophils. And this is the story of the anaphylaxis. We will continue in the next video. In the meantime, you can download my CNS pharmacology course on my website medicosisperfectionalis.com. And for a limited time, you can get a 40% discount towards anything on my website. Just use promo code KIDNEY at checkout. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and click on the join button. You can support me here or here. Go to my website to download my courses. Be safe, stay happy, study hard. This is Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense.